And a good morning to you. Welcome inside the bottom line. That is not an optical illusion outside. There's water falling down from the sky, and I had seen that it was going to be showers type, but that's not the case. We're getting some serious rain out there right now. Yeah,
yes.
and needed, because my yard, I haven't mowed it in 2 weeks because there's nothing growing. It's kind of gotten toasty. It hadn't got crunchy yet, but it's gotten a little toasty.
Yeah, I was looking at ours last night. I guess it's probably the best way to describe it.
It's just the grass hadn't grown, the little pointy weeds, the little stem stuff.
Hey, it's the opposite. It's the yang of June.
Yes.
We're in the yin right now. June was the yang of this.
Honestly, when they said earlier in the summer that this would be a cooler and wetter summer than normal, they're right, because we really just had about 3 weeks of heat. Yeah. We haven't had the heat. There's no 90s predicted for the next 10 days, so that gets you to the middle of August.
Right.
And if you might have a couple of 90s in September, but if you can get through August without a whole lot of 90s, that's pretty good.
It's interesting too. I hate I missed you guys yesterday. Mandy and I had to go to North Wilkesboro, work and everything. And on the way up there, we passed, through Taylorsville and going up through the Brushies or whatever, and they have the apple farms up there. And the apple stores, basically on the side of the road, right? Those apple trees almost looked unreal. There were so many apples on them. I've been going up there for a long time. I've never seen this kind of production with apples up there. The key with the apple stuff and where they get bit is if we get a late frost and it kills the buds. Oh, you're right.
That's it. But if you can get through that,
right.
yeah. Gee, you know what I read? I read yesterday, talking of apples, 40%, 4 out of every 10 kids do not know that apples grow on trees. Obviously, they didn't talk about Johnny Appleseed. Or he probably don't even know who Johnny Appleseed was.
Well, we can go into a whole nother realm.
I know. I'm just throwing that out there.
Trying to figure out John. Well, anyway.
Yeah, just trying to throw that out there. Just
that's
to make
incredible,
sure.
Though. That's an incredible stat.
Yep. Yep.
I remember somebody telling me one time, an adult was telling me one time that, I didn't realize pickles came from cucumbers.
I can believe
that.
Said,
hey, but the thing about it is, if you don't, if you don't really, I've said similar things too, I'm sure.
Milton, good morning. Richie, good morning. Stephen, good morning, and a good morning to the G-Man. Brian, good morning. Richie said there's a bunch of people that think the Titanic is just a movie. Yeah. Speaking of that, since we're just kind of on rabbit holes for a few minutes, I read a book before they found the Titanic. It was written by a guy named Clive Cussler. I like his books. He wrote a book called Raise the Titanic, and he wrote a fictional story about what he thinks happened, and what he said happened was not that it struck an iceberg, that it was transporting some type of radioactive material across and nobody knew it, and it was sabotaged and sunk so that it wouldn't make the other side. Now, they found the Titanic and were able to take, I guess, big bags that they could blow up with air and put it in the Titanic, and they made a movie of it. And it shows the Titanic pop to the surface, pretty beaten up and rusted out. But it was a neat concept. And the interesting part about it was they had not found the Titanic at that point. When I read that book, when he wrote that book,
wow,
they had not. It's probably 15, 20 years before they actually found it.
That's incredible.
Which I thought it was really neat that they did that.
That's incredible.
And then they found it. And then when they found it, the book couldn't make it because it had actually split in two, which a lot of folks didn't know.
Yeah,
I'm going to give you another one talking about the apples. I saw this yesterday as well. 60% of kids today don't know that grapes grow on vines. And some people think that watermelons grow underground like taters. So, there's a lot of folks that don't know the I guess you'd say the basic type.
Well, they
stuff.
use assimilation for a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
The potato, whether it be sweet or whatever. I mean, beets. I mean,
if I'm not mistaken, a tomato is not a fruit. It's a vegetable. It's not a vegetable. It's a fruit.
Technically, it's a fruit.
Yeah. because of the makeup the way that it is.
Well, it's a flowering plant,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So, yeah.
All right, let's go down.
Much like you are a flower.
I am just flowering every morning. G did not know today was Tommy's birthday, which I was depressed about.
Until I realized it was August 3rd.
Well, you've been up long enough to know what date it is, G. It's August the 3rd. Tommy turns 46.
Still one of the top 3 or 4 in the league.
And right here is a Tommy story this morning. Tom Brady has become a minority owner of Birmingham City,
That's
a club in English soccer's second-tier championship.
Yep.
He entered into a partnership with the owners, Knighthead Capital Management, LLC. He will become chairman of the advisory board at the club.
Yeah, he's a process guy, man. That's a good move for them.
Yep. Other celebrity soccer owners, LeBron James, Patrick Mahomes, and Sir Elton John. All of those are. And there's more people than you would think have a piece of a soccer team, whether it's MLS over here or whether it's part of the
sharing. They're businessmen, right?
That's right.
They don't care about, football versus soccer like it was when you and I were growing up for, 100, 100 years, right? They don't care about that. They're looking at opportunities and ways to promote things that bring value, and that's what they're doing.
Now, I do have a couple of things that I want to bring up. I saw this yesterday. There were some athletes charged at Iowa and Iowa State, college athletes, with gambling. It was a sting operation. Got 7 of them. Here's the deal.
So what were they gambling?
I hadn't read the article yet. I saw it when it came down on the feed.
So you're going to treat them like adults, and pay them, but they can't go out and do the things that adults do, right? It's like the 18-year-old thing, right? Yeah, you can go, take up arms and defend the country, but, you're not quite ready to make decisions on, whether you, should be able to, consume alcohol and other things, right? This whole thing is just, God.
I have always said.
What a mess.
I have always said, if you're old enough to vote and you're old enough to die for your country, you're old enough to smoke a cigarette and drink a beer.
Well,
it's that simple.
Or make the decision, right?
If you're not, then you can't go to war unless you're 21.
Right,
okay?
right.
I mean, I get it, but you need to be consistent. You can't vote till you're 21.
I mean, this is the whole thing about putting the cart before the horse. Everything has a progressional order so it can grow and develop into something prosperous, something that is productive, and something that doesn't set, itself or others or whatever back. Okay, even though you have setbacks, the progression needs to be in order so much that you can't that it's something you can overcome when you make mistakes. Right. This whole mixed message thing is just, and I think it's done on purpose, Lenny. I'm getting to the point now where I believe that things are done on purpose to keep people fighting each other about, well, you believe this and you believe that, while the people that run everything have the puppet strings, right? We've got to wake up on these things. And unfortunately, I have no idea about what you're going to talk about with the gambling. But the whole thing is, when you introduce these things, okay, and they are there, you have to have a set of rules, all right, for the people that are participants in whatever it is that's being gambled on. And if you don't, and they're not clear and concise, you won't pay these people, don't pay these people, pay these people, don't pay, then it's madness.
Well, here's what happened, and here's where they kind of got in the trouble started. A couple of things. In Iowa, you got to be 21 to gamble. One of these guys wasn't, okay? He used his phone, made 1,800 wagers for over $34,000.
Okay.
And part of the problem was he bet on his own team.
I completely agree.
Okay. But he signed up, both of them signed up under false names. One of them from one of them's brother. And my thing is, if they did it and did it on board, and the only rule was you can't you can't gamble on your team.
That's crazy.
Then I don't see where the problem is.
Well, this is the other thing too. Where are the checks and balances, right? In things that certain people do for livings.
And these aren't the last ones. Go ahead and mark that down.
This is going on, but this is what I'm saying. It's like, we're going to throw this out here, and as long as you give us your name and date of birth and how you're going to pay for it, that makes it okay. You know, there's no verification of. Obviously, there's a breakdown in this. It's like pick and choose. You know, it's amazing that some professions are demonized as, oh, take advantage of people and do all this when they have the set of rules in place that help, you know, bring that transparency. But then you got this over here that is new and exciting and, oh, well, just let anybody do it. Does that sound familiar? Mm-hmm. Anybody can do it. Oh, it's so easy a caveman can do it. It's crazy.
Yep.
This is crazy.
Nope. And it's not over. It's going to get worse. Juju was talking yesterday, January of 24 is when online sports betting becomes legal in North Carolina. The law has been signed, and it'll start. And they do all this for the money, but then they want to put, as you said, put stupid restrictions on it. So I'm kind of the same way. The other story that broke yesterday, and Juju and I talked about this, Richie had posted on Facebook that he thinks Clemson and Florida State will leave the ACC
Absolutely.
by August 15th. Well, Florida State's president told his board of trustees yesterday, this is actually would have to very seriously consider leaving the ACC unless there's a radical change to the conference revenue distribution model. Now,
I agree.
Let me ask you this. Should a conference in today's world, and you work in the world of financials and futures and stuff like that, should a conference be allowed to negotiate a deal that is 20 years long?
Absolutely. They should be allowed to do whatever it is that they feel is necessary.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean that an individual team has to agree to it. Okay? That's the problem. You know, things should be open and transparent, and all ideas should be on the table to be discussed. But the fact that some of these colleges agreed to 20 years shows you that they're about the quan or the money, right, instead of about the process over time. Greatest example, Scottie Pippen. Reinsdorf told him, Scottie, do not sign this contract. I have to. I've got to take care of all these people. He said, sign a one-year deal. He said, because if you sign this multi-year deal, we're not going back. You know this. He said, I don't have a choice. I have to do it. 2 or 3 years later, everything skyrocketed. He's still in that contract. Scottie gets upset, sits out. Oh, you know, this hurts, that hurts. He's not playing. Reinsdorf told him, we're not renegotiating this. This is what I'm talking about. It's now. Style versus substance. This was a terrible revenue buster for Clemson and for Florida State. Terrible.
The schools inside the ACC are $30 million a year behind competitors like the Big Ten.
They're $30 million behind.
Let me give you a comment that Cowherd made that I thought sums it up. The problem is, as you said, people don't want to live up to what they committed to.
Correct.
Okay. He said, like in football with contracts, when you get a second contract, you have an option. You either take a longer contract at less money for the security, Scottie Pippen.
Right.
Okay. Or you take a shorter contract, betting on yourself that when that contract expires, I'm going to be worth more.
Right.
But you can't have both. You can't sign a 5-year contract. 2 years into it, your numbers are great, and you're not being paid what other people are paying, but you took the money up front. You took the security versus betting on yourself.
Who are the two people that come to mind that are Steelers that broke this rule and the Steelers and all the other teams gave in? Antonio Brown and who else?
Le'Veon Bell.
There you go. That is the perfect example of.
And Le'Veon Bell regrets every day that he did it.
Well, what about Antonio Brown?
Well, he's just disappeared.
No, but that's my point.
I know.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's my point.
No.
Okay? That's my point.
Let's see. Ryan Reynolds, who's an actor, owns Wrexham, Richie said. And then he was also saying we haven't made it to kickoff. Still a chance that he plays this year. He's talking about Tommy.
So is Brady playing this year, G?
No.
Okay. Glad we got that worked out. Not even for his soccer team?
Big no.
Okay. Richie said there may have been a squash put on the rumor for now. Anyway, there was a new report on Yahoo that the Big Ten is in talks to potentially add Pac-12 teams.
They will.
Well, there were 4 teams that were speculated that they were going to move to the Big Ten by the 15th.
Yep.
2 of those teams are in the Pac-12,
Yep.
which are Washington and Oregon,
Yep.
along with Clemson and Florida State. The question is, Richie said, is do they just take 2, which would be Oregon and Washington, or take 4, which would be Cal and Stanford?
About Arizona. That's
Well,
the
a lot of
other
people think they're going to go Big Ten.
Well, I mean, I don't disagree that they that Big Ten would be the place to go, but from a market share standpoint, within a conference that is simulated with teams close to where you are, the Big 12, from a revenue standpoint, long term, could potentially make more sense. In the short term, there's no doubt the Big Ten would be a better fit short term, but we've seen what happens when you go in there and look at the money right now instead of look at the future things. The West Coast will make a comeback when it comes to football and revenue. Things yin and yang, right? They don't – it's like I was talking to somebody – well, I can't talk about that. But anyway, the yin and yang. Something doesn't stay up forever. Trees don't grow to the sky, right? So it's all about where things are fertilized. And, a lot of times it really doesn't matter the kind of fertilizer, if you know what I mean. It's a matter of, nightshade, which is the most poisonous plant in the world, grows very well in good soils, and just like tomatoes do, right?
Yep.
So, you've got to watch where you plant.
I'm going to take a break, and then when I come back, I've got the answer to what we do with all this conference mess, but it's just a thought I'll throw out there. Back in a moment.
Whether it's a sit-down meal or a call-in for the drive-thru, Brookwood Cafe and Catering is the answer. A variety of meats, vegetables, and desserts cooked daily, or a hot sandwich from the grill, they have what you're looking for to satisfy your taste buds. If you need catering from 5 to 500, Brookwood has you covered as well. Stop by Brookwood Cafe and Catering at 202 Providence Mill Road in Maiden. Don't forget breakfast daily till 11 a.m. Open Tuesday 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., Wednesday through Saturday 6 a.m. till 8 p.m., and Sunday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Call 828-428-8944 to place your order today.
If you ask around, you'll find Burke Mortuary has a reputation for excellence and commitment to value. They've built a reputation of trust for more than 35 years. Burke Mortuary is proud to offer personal attention, meaningful tributes, and the area's most affordable prices. They're also proud to offer you beautiful, state-of-the-art facilities. It's the perfect place to honor your loved one. So when choosing a funeral home, the choice is easy. Choose Burke Mortuary with locations in Maiden and Newton.
Covenant Church began as a vision of just over 100 people in 1984. Since then, Covenant Church has grown and currently located at 2168 Gastonia Highway in Lincoln. The Sunday schedule includes early morning worship at 8:30, Sunday school at 9:45, and morning worship at 10:45. Their ministries extend beyond Sunday. Visit their website at www.covenantchurch.church to see all they have to offer, and better yet, stop by and see for yourself. Covenant Church may be just what you're looking for a new church home. First Federal Savings Bank has been serving Lincoln County since 1940. And as it has been from the beginning, customer service is a priority to First Federal Savings Bank. They want to get to know you by name. First Federal Savings Bank has the convenience, the products, and the services that the larger banks have, but with hometown people that you see throughout your community. Stop in and visit one of their 4 convenient locations and see what First Federal Savings Bank has to offer you. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Untangling your headphones, finding the right remote, saying goodbye to your favorite shirt that hasn't fit in 10 years. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with Auto Owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. Auto Owners works with independent agents who live in your community and answer when you call, so you can worry about more important things, like finding a new favorite shirt. That's simple human sense.
Call Mooney Insurance in Maiden or East Lincoln Insurance in Denver or visit MooneyInsurance.com. Stifel Nicholas now has an office in your community. Stifel Nicholas is a full-service organization offering a wide range of investment vehicles and services. These include money market funds, CDs, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, annuities, retirement plans, and managed accounts, to name a few. Our financial advisors will sit down with you and help you tailor an investment plan, explaining strategies and investments which may help you achieve your personal goals. Call 4Rembert today at 828-624-7300. Stifel Nicholas, member SIPC, and the New York Stock Exchange. And we're back. Still raining, 75 degrees. I don't know
Oh,
if it's
righty
75
then.
degrees. I don't know if it's 75 degrees, but it's close. All right. The big challenge with these conferences, okay, is it's called the GOR, Grant of Rights.
Okay.
No school has ever went to court to challenge it to this point, but I think it's around the corner. To get out of the league, Florida State, and I'm not just because I'm a Clemson guy, Florida State talk about all that it brings to the conference. It hasn't been relative in 15 years. So don't toot your horn on that one just yet. They would have to pay a $120 million exit fee and go to court to challenge the existing grant of rights, which gives the ACC media rights for its member schools through the length of the contract.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Now, Florida State, along with other schools in the ACC, have studied the contract language in the grant of rights for more than a year. Every Power 5 conference has the grant of rights when it comes to media. Now, here's the deal. I've got the fix. This is the fix to me. The fix would be, as we've said before, there needs to be a central organization that negotiates the rights for all of these Power 5 schools, or whatever you want to call them. And then as far as revenue is concerned, the revenue would be based on what you brought to the table as far as how you performed
It should be.
in the media.
It should be.
That's the way you would get it back.
It should be.
The problem is the schools that don't generate that kind of media attention, they don't want to lose their share.
I completely understand that.
But-
that's called addiction.
But
Independence.
shouldn't things be based on performance and how you do?
Of course.
Okay.
Because it motivates you. I mean, it's like in high school sports. You know, there's a reason that people want to go certain places for, you know, whether it be for an academic reason or for welding or, you know, sports in general, right? Mm-hmm. Well, that's not fair to, you know, it's not fair to that. Well, you know what? Why don't you increase the standard over at this other place, okay, and provide the opportunity that the people are seeking? Anytime people are trying to navigate and move to better themselves, it tells you where the problem lies. Right? That is an indicator of lack of quality and lack of value being brought for what is being produced or supposedly produced. That is the same thing, and of course none of us want to. Think of it. You know, think about it. You know, if you've been given somebody, let's say there's 4 of you in a deal, okay? And 2 are producing well and 2 are not. And these 2 over here decide, you know what, I need to bring home more of what I'm doing. I've been, you know, sharing this with you, but I need to bring home a little more. There's things that are out of kilter, out of balance. As soon as you start taking away and bringing home more, the other 2 do what? They become what? Resentful. Why are you doing that to me? Why? But I bring value. Showing up with a heartbeat does not bring value. Productivity brings value.
That's
right?
correct. That's correct.
Okay? So, you know, in the point of these schools, okay, you know, I'm sorry that some of these smaller schools don't like it, but that's not the problem of the people that are getting things done.
It's real world.
Well, but what is the message over the last 20 years?
I know.
You don't ever have to grow up. You can pretend and play.
I know.
Okay?
I know.
All the privileges of an adult with the protections of a child from the time you're 0 till you're 100. Okay? Now, people can agree or disagree with me. That is fine. That is completely up to them. Okay? But truth is truth. Okay? And it is what, and you can't just sit there and say, well, I believe this, and then that makes it true. It's either right or it's wrong. Okay? And this whole thing.
And anytime you can't back up and justify and validate why you say what you did, that's where the problem comes in. Now, Todd said there's a lot of players who take long-term contracts but never live up to it as well. I agree. I don't believe in the long-term contracts. I mean, that's just me.
I like them for certain. I like there to be an option there for people to do that. Okay. Yeah. And the reason why is if you have me as a player, okay, I'm going to try to take as much and as long as I can get based on where I am right now, right? Where you have Gehrig as a player, he may want to play on that year-to-year contract and then take his, as people say, chances, give himself an opportunity to make more based on his productivity.
Bet on himself.
Right. So I know what you're saying. For the younger players, a lot of times it would make sense just to kind of do the year-to-year, but everybody's situation is different.
Well, that's why I don't like the structure that it is. Like
agreed.
When you've got a rookie that comes in on a 5-year contract, basically 4 with a team option, okay? So there's 5 years you're with it. Then they can franchise you 2 years. Well, if they've got all the juice out of the berry in 7 years and you've still not made any money, then you have not been able to control what you're doing.
But it's not the whole thing is it's not really set up for the players much as it is for the survival of the players union. They get a portion of that money each year, so the longer they can guarantee something, the longer they have money. Now, I'm not accusing them of being wrong or because people need representation, right? I'm not accusing them of doing anything wrong. I'm saying, but when you look at the fundamental structure and nature of something, is it truly in the best interest of the player to do that, or is it in the best interest of others?
And now, with the way the game has changed, that same quote-unquote template doesn't fit every player position like the running back, for example.
Right.
Because they're really the ones that are getting left out on this. Todd also says each person must do what they think is best for them. Absolutely. Now, on the other hand, no conference, business, or organization should do that long of a term agreement without safeguards for both built into them. Just your humble opinion. Right. I'm gonna just walk away from that one, Todd, because I've got a burr under my saddle about that one, and I think we all here in the room know what that is.
Yeah.
Every small town has it.
Yeah.
Todd says FSU is now a softball school. That is correct. That's exactly correct. They're known more for their softball, baseball, and Leonard Hamilton with the college basketball than what Florida State football has been.
Well, again, you look at why Jimbo left. There was no long-term vision there. The same reason they entered into a 20-year contract with the ACC, okay? And he got really upset because he wanted facilities increased because they were not what they should have been.
Not as competitive as other schools.
And he needed it for recruiting, right? And he needs it for – all these, he needed salaries increased, all these other things. And it's like, no, we're Florida State. We don't have to do that. Well, we're going to go out and hire so-and-so because we're Florida State. And it doesn't matter who we hire. We're still going to be really good. How'd that work out?
Not good.
It matters.
Revolving doors.
It matters.
Texas is the same way.
Well, I mean,
and I'm still not convinced that Sarkisian is the perfect fit.
I can understand that, but I'm gonna tell you this. If the Mannings have faith in him, then I'm not saying I'm gonna give him an. I'm kind of like the wait and see. That kind of turned with Arch going there, right? It kind of made me think there may be something here where this guy has really worked hard on improving himself, from his past, which we all, no casting stones here, right? We're all trying to be better, right? But it's one of those things where if he does, and he does turn out to fruition after being under Saban, learning from mistakes he's made, getting around people like the Mannings, you could see the development of him just like Kirby Smart at Alabama, right? Dabo Swinney at Clemson with the opportunity there. There are some interesting things that could happen in college football over the next 10 years if Sark does end up being really truly legit.
Do you know what I think the major motivation was for Arch to go to Texas? Texas needed Arch more than Arch needed Texas.
Correct.
It was the ability for him to go into a program that was historically a huge program that had really slipped off the map.
Yeah.
He could be the one that's credited with bringing it back.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
Correct. It's a win. It could be a win-win.
Yes.
Because his grandfather did so much for college football and pro football.
Yep.
And people say, yeah, but he played for the Saints. Let me tell you something. He brought firmness and validity, to an organization and a town, a city that needed somebody like that they knew they were going to get their eyes beat in. But he competed. And you see those same attributes in all three of his children, which he credits his wife for giving them the boys more of that than he did. But they had a great example to follow there too, right? Same thing with Arch being Cooper's son. He's had a chance to stand back and say, well, it wasn't my dad so much in the performance area, which his dad was really good and unfortunately had to quit playing. Let me see my uncles do it. That is a huge benefit.
Oh, yeah. Now, Richie said Florida State is ready to challenge those grant of rights. One thing he's heard is that FSU could look to point out that the ACC and the grant of rights have hampered them by not letting them be able to compete financially. He goes on and says the FSU Board of Trustees met yesterday. One of them made a statement that about FSU leaving, and he said it's not a matter of if we leave, it's a matter of how and when we leave.
So think about this. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but think about this. They just say, we're not doing this anymore. We're going out. Well, then what does the ACC do? They sue them. Then they tied up in court for 20 years.
But the other side of that is,
who cares?
The other schools are going to lose money with the ACC having to pay the financial bills to try to keep them in.
That's my point.
To where if Florida State can get more schools to get on board, they can't fight it.
That's exactly right. So.
I'll give you an example from a high school standpoint. The same thing happened in Cleveland County. When Cleveland County wanted to merge Cleveland, Shelby, and Kings Mountain.
Yeah, that's right.
Kings Mountain said absolutely no. Kings Mountain school system spent well over $1 million trying to stop it, but they couldn't. There was no way they were going to stop it. It was a futile effort. So,
Well, in hindsight, look back on it, you wish they'd have been able to keep their system and let them pay for it because, how good does centralization really work?
Yeah.
Now, and I'm not saying there's bad people. I'm talking about the system, right? Because people are only a product of the environment and the system, right?
Well, the bad part, when they combine something like that, you should be able to trim administration because now you've centralized it.
Yeah.
What you wind up doing is just bringing all the same people in and giving them jobs.
Well, I mean, think of it like this. There's all these renovations going on at one school in the county, right, for years and years and years. But yet they were fourth on the list in actual what they brought in from a taxpayer standpoint. Okay? Why? Oh, well,
squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Well, or perception becomes the reality when all actuality, the reality of the situation is the perception is false and you have to change its narrative.
We don't have to tell you something good, Keywan. You are something good. Let me go ahead and tell you that. Good morning to you.
He's a good dude, man. I love that guy.
Key was awesome.
Fantastic.
So I know this is completely off topic, but the 49ers or the Patriots had the same number of turnovers on defense as the 49ers did.
What's the Patriots' problem with why they can't compete?
Honestly, it may be their offense.
No, it's not. Maybe. It is their offense. And it goes back to what I've said that we argue about sometimes. You've got a defensive-minded head coach that is set in his ways and convinced himself, my way will work, but it's not. The reason his worked is because he had Tommy. I was the first one to say that when they split, that Belichick would have more success than Tommy would. And I was completely wrong. I'm the first one to admit I was wrong. I really thought that the way that Belichick ran it, his systems, his commitment, but Tommy was able to take players that Bill drafted that really weren't good players. He's never – you go through the list, he's failed at drafting receivers and running backs and a lot of things on the offensive side of the ball. Tommy – like Peyton Manning when he was at Indianapolis, was able to take players that were not top-tier players, but he could bring them up, which is the sign of a great player, not that he can get it all done himself, but what does he do to improve those around him to make the whole thing?
Raises the standard.
That's correct.
Player,
well, see, he went to the franchise that had the worst backstory, and he took them from worst to first.
But the reason
one season after them going 3-13, he brung them to 11-5, beating a 14-2 team in the Super Bowl.
But the reason he did that is because they had put a coach in there that built everything but didn't have a quarterback. He had to bring a quarterback in. And when he brought a quarterback in, and the other side of that, he brought a quarterback in that not only did he knew that the quarterback could help him where he needed it, but he was like, tell me what you need.
Yeah, and he did.
That was something Belichick didn't. Tom said, here's what we got to have. Here's the last missing pieces that we need.
So, my thing with Bill Belichick is this. He is a systems guy, okay? So he has how many Super Bowls?
6.
Okay.
Or a little bit more.
Right.
No, he has 6 because Tommy
6.
only has 7 Super Bowls.
So 6 out of 10 or 6 out of 9, something like that, right?
6 out of 9.
So he's a systems guy. So I think, looking at things, it's a matter of opportunity. Where was Brady drafted? Very near the bottom, right? We all know that. We know who's taken in front of him. The one thing Belichick's able to do is find value in people that are overlooked. Okay, so things were set up for Brady in Tampa, where he was really in a no-lose situation. And I'm not discounting what he's done because I am in all by it as well. And the fact that he theoretically could potentially have won 2 more Super Bowls is even 2 more, is remarkable, right? So, the fact that Rodgers beat him out for the league MVP, that was a very arguable, very close debate. Brady, I said it should have. I think should have won it. That's okay. It was an arguable point. Both sides, great years. Okay. The one thing that I think Belichick is able to do longer term, all right, and why he's had success, and when you have other coaches that have been doing it 15, 17, just a few others, 15, 17 years that are just mediocre, is because they're more about adapting to the current style and trying to fit that into the players instead of saying this is what the standard is that I have set as the coach and this is what I'm looking for and this is what we're going to do. That doesn't mean they're going to win a Super Bowl every year. And when Brady went off the payroll, they had a ton of money tied up in contracts, which normally didn't happen to the Patriots. And it was a chance for them to rebuild. They weren't expected to go out and play great. Therefore, they were able to redistribute money, and I expect them to do well.
But here's the thing. Bill has not been successful without a superstar quarterback. In Cleveland, he went 36-44. He is 6-3 in Super Bowl appearances. He has the Patriots have the longest consecutive playoff appearances in NFL history at 11 years. He has 11 consecutive titles, division titles from 09 to 19, and 5 from 03 to 07.
These are all great points, but Brady was not a superstar quarterback the first 5 years in the league. He was an opportunist, which is a wonderful thing. He was able, he had people around him. The defense was established. It's a product of the system. And I'm not discounting any of the stats or anything. I understand that. And I think a lot of the accomplishment there is good. But remember, this is someone that was not even supposed to have an opportunity to play had an opportunity to play in college. It really, kept trying to find every reason not to start him and then put him with the team. So you have an incredibly motivated individual, right? Does Brady do the same things under playing some of these guys that lasted 1 or 2 years in the NFL, like what Baker Mayfield's been through? The answer is no.
But the other thing that you have to look at that I keep coming back to, and it really bothers me that I keep coming back to this because I was never a Tommy fan, but the thing about him that people didn't understand until he left is what a contributor he was to make the team better and not him.
Right.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? As you said, he was not on the superstar level.
No.
He became that because of what he was able to get out of other individuals.
Yes.
And he understands the part, and this is where a lot of people lose it on any level, is if I invest in my people,
right, that's correct,
it will make me better.
That's correct.
I don't have to invest in myself. If I do the right investment in people,
right,
it makes us better. Andrew said that the Patriots aren't any good because they don't have Brady. And Ronnie said he hopes that the name Arch Manning will help recruit people that can catch, tackle, and block because he's going to have those two. Todd, good morning. And then Todd Herm said Bill has 8 rings.
Yeah,
2 as an
I
assistant.
was going to say
2 as an assistant.
Giants, right? Yeah.
6.
That's what I was saying. Like, I think he has 6, but I'm not 100% sure.
He does have 6 as a head
And then I
coach.
was like,
But he's got 8 total. Let me take a quick break. Back in a moment.
Whether it's a sit-down meal or a call-in for the drive-thru, Brookwood Cafe and Catering is the answer. A variety of meats, vegetables, and desserts cooked daily or a hot sandwich from the grill, they have what you're looking for to satisfy your taste buds. If you need catering from 5 to 500, Brookwood has you covered as well. Stop by Brookwood Cafe and Catering at 202 Providence Mill Road in Maiden. Don't forget breakfast daily till 11 a.m. Open Tuesday 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., Wednesday through Saturday 6 a.m. till 8 p.m., and Sunday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Call 828-428-8944 to place your order today.
If you ask around, you'll find Burke Mortuary has a reputation for excellence and commitment to value. They've built a reputation of trust for more than 35 years. Burke Mortuary is proud to offer personal attention, meaningful tributes, and the area's most affordable prices. They're also proud to offer you beautiful, state-of-the-art facilities. It's the perfect place to honor your loved one. So when choosing a funeral home, the choice is easy. Choose Burke Mortuary with locations in Maiden and Newton.
Covenant Church began as a vision of just over 100 people in 1984. Since then, Covenant Church has grown and currently located at 2168 Gastonia Highway in Lincoln. The Sunday schedule includes early morning worship at 8:30, Sunday school at 9:45, and morning worship at 10:45. Their ministries extend beyond Sunday. Visit their website at www.covenantchurch.church to see all they have to offer, and better yet, stop by and see for yourself. Covenant Church may be just what you're looking for a new church home. First Federal Savings Bank has been serving Lincoln County since 1940. And as it has been from the beginning, customer service is a priority to First Federal Savings Bank. They want to get to know you by name. First Federal Savings Bank has the convenience, the products, and the services that the larger banks have, but with hometown people that you see throughout your community. Stop in and visit one of their 4 convenient locations and see what First Federal Savings Bank has to offer you. Member FDIC, an equal housing lender.
Untangling your headphones, finding the right remote, saying goodbye to your favorite shirt that hasn't fit in 10 years. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with auto owners, insurance doesn't have to be one of them. Auto Owners works with independent agents who live in your community and answer when you call, so you can worry about more important things, like finding a new favorite shirt. That's simple human sense.
Call Mooney Insurance in Maiden or East Lincoln Insurance in Denver or visit mooneyinsurance.com. Stifel Nicholas now has an office in your community. Stifel Nicholas is a full-service organization offering a wide range of investment vehicles and services. These include money market funds, CDs, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, annuities, retirement plans, and managed accounts, to name a few. Our financial advisors will sit down with you and help you tailor an investment plan, explaining strategies and investments which may help you achieve your personal goals. Call 4 Rembert today at 828-624-7300. Stifel Nicholas, member SIPC, and the New York Stock Exchange. I'm sorry, we were here solving the world's problems, just in case anybody needs to know. That's what we do when we get an opportunity to solve the world's problems. Welcome back. A couple more comments that came in. I'll get to those. I'm going to switch over my screen. Richie said, and I think, yeah, Brady had his respect for what he accomplished in New England. I gained more respect for him when he went to Tampa and wanted to run drills after practice. So one of the wide receivers didn't want to do it and wasn't. Brady told them that they were going to do it and that he wasn't going to ask them to do it. He was that anything that he wasn't going to do for himself. I've always had that philosophy. Yeah. If anybody that works for me, I don't ever ask anybody that works for me to do a job that I can't do myself, because I don't think that's right. Just because you're here, when I worked at the oil company, my title was right under vice president as a director, but that didn't mean that I didn't crawl under sticky, nasty floors and run cables and plug things up, because that was part of my job. That's what you do. So, you have to kind of – you have to be willing to do it, and that's one of the things that Tommy has done. And Tommy's almost got in trouble sometimes because he wanted to work with players outside of the year, get together on the high school field and throw some balls around, and I don't think those should be a problem, Yeah,
you set expectation and you set the standard high. You hold everyone accountable to.
Mm-hmm.
There's those 8 attributes that we've talked about for a few years
mm-hmm.
now on the show. And that's what you go by. And he like you said, he's not asking anybody to do anything that he wasn't doing. And the drawback that someone may say, well, yeah, but you get paid all this. Do it. Why do you think he gets paid what he got paid? Because he was willing to do that. The problem is, it's like Nick Saban talks about, is it's natural to just settle, just to survive. The challenge is finding that athlete that has all of these. That's why we always hear about, the potential of this kid, and he just didn't do anything. Just lazy, didn't do anything, da-da-da-da-da. It's, to be human, average is what we try to do and just survive instead of excel. So how do we keep the foot on the accelerator to help these people be the best they can be at what they're doing to achieve greatness? And it doesn't matter if it's in professional sports or being a dad or a father or, anything else. How do we just not settle? And that's what the whole point is with Brady. He is not a settler. So it upsets and infuriates people that say, well, he, I just don't understand why he does that. You're right, you don't. Okay, that's okay. That doesn't make you a bad person. It just makes you somebody that is not willing to do the things that are necessary to obtain. You just want to fuss about it, okay, and not do what needs to be done.
And sometimes people want to. And sometimes people want to be upset, and it's. I look at it this way: sometimes you have people that that when you call them out on something that they didn't do right, and they know they didn't do it right, but they want to get mad because you called them out on it, instead of just saying, "You're right, I should have done that differently."
So I'm talking to a coach, a few years ago, and we're talking about things. All right, and I'm like, okay, look, these are the things that I think that we need to try to improve upon. That, that's, we got this kind of relationship. That's what we talk about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, these are some of the things that we're not doing that we need to be doing. These are some, and this was, off somewhere, while
mm-hmm.
back, I'd say a few years, while back. And I had enough experience at the time, with, the successes and failures that I had to be able to make a reasonable assessment on things to try to help improve the situation in the process. Well, immediately it's all defensive. Well, that's not, you can't, I said, you're not understanding what I'm saying. I'm not criticizing you. What I'm saying is, everything I'm saying is truthful.
Mm-hmm.
These are things that we need to do to take this thing to the next level. Now, what's more important? How I'm saying what I'm saying, or the content of the message and the intent of the message to make things better. So I get a call back 2 days later, you know what, I'm really sorry, you're right, everything you said was correct. Now, I had the same things done to me when I was younger, and I got real defensive.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the way I do it, you can't do it, but that's immaturity, right?
Yep.
So what you do is you try to grow as a person. The problem is you can't assimilate something unless you've actually been there and done it or been in that situation. That is why, a lot of times when we hire coaches, people that do the hiring for coaches that haven't been there, okay, don't understand the necessities that are involved, right, in hiring the best people, the most experienced people for the job that can deliver the greatest value. Mm-hmm. Instead, we get things like, well, I owe it to so-and-so because they did this to me. No, you owe it to our kids. That is the problem. You don't have that issue in private sector. You don't have that issue in charter schools. Mm-hmm. All right. When you see navigation going on within the public school sector, there's an issue, and it's not with the kids.
The problem is you don't have the layers of bureaucracy that you have to go through to get something accomplished because somebody wants to make sure somebody else's rear end's on the line, not just theirs.
All right, so what does that tell you about bureaucracy? Bureaucracy equals failure long term.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then it's so hard to get out of. So what does that tell you?
Oh, I know.
It matters how we vote. It matters how we go about our daily business, and then holding people accountable, right? Especially those that receive taxpayer dollars. There is a fine line between all of this, Lanny, but then taxpayer dollars are received at universities as well, okay? Public universities provide platforms, do all these things, but yet here we are. Well, this group deserves this, and he deserves this, and she deserves that. And all. You don't deserve anything. You're not entitled to anything. The only thing you don't deserve, you deserve an opportunity.
That's correct.
Okay?
Everybody deserves an opportunity.
Absolutely. You don't deserve the same outcome.
No.
Okay? You deserve an opportunity. When people are not afforded opportunities, that's when I have a problem with things.
Right.
Big time.
Right.
Across the board. In academic setting, athletic setting, life setting.
No guaranteed results.
No,
just
but
an opportunity. Yeah.
And not with prejudice, right, of any kind.
That's right.
They've never done this before, so or I've watched them do it one time, so they can't do this. I'm just moving them over there. That is why failure is imminent long term in a system that has bureaucracy in it that doesn't hold the same standards of accountability.
Richie makes a great comment. He says, I tell my boys that every day. We try to be better than the day
Amen,
before.
brother. Amen.
Every day continue to do better.
Yep.
We were talking about this, and I have trouble uttering this phrase, I've got to go to practice, because I quit that about 25 years ago, but I'm back at it now. But we're doing 11 and 12-year-olds.
Yep.
And here's the deal. We don't have any media rights. We're not competing for any national championships. But what we are doing is we're trying to take these kids that want to be better athletes and better people and make them better every day.
Yep.
The way that I rate success on what I do is not that I won the ultimate prize at the end, but that I make those that I come in contact with better every day. That's the key. Did I make them better every day? Are they better today? Are they better next year than they were the year before? Because that's what you're doing. You're building. You can't control. We're not at a point, depending upon what level you're at, you have to make sure that you're realistic in what you can accomplish. Now, do I hope that some of these kids that we're coaching now have an opportunity to compete for a state championship or compete for a national championship? Absolutely. So I want to do my part to make those kids better
100%,
every day.
100%.
You get lost sometimes. I think people get lost in what they're trying to accomplish. I'm not trying to accomplish anything as a person. My eligibility's expired. I don't compete on that level anymore. I just want to try to pass some knowledge and some skills down to somebody else to make them better.
And you already have in just 2 days. Like some of the kids that I've seen that have played before, or some of the ones that are just now getting out there, right? Mm-hmm. They are having that foundation that's laid out before them,
right,
with an expectation of, you're going to learn every day. You're going to do not just your best, but you are going to do this. You can do it, and when you make mistakes, we're going to help correct it and get it right. That is the part where I talk to the kids about managing their energy. Mm-hmm. When I'm talking about, there's also their focus. I don't want them coming out there every day, 100 miles an hour for 2 hours. I want them to have a 5 to 10 minute segment where they're really focused and concentrated, and then I want to go over here and break for
It's a building process.
It is. You can't stay internally motivated for 2.5 hours in football unless you take drugs. I'm talking about illegal, what I mean?
Yeah.
That is not the message that we want to convey to these kids, because you can't go 100 miles an hour as a father and a husband one day either.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, it's not no such thing as me time when you have kids, okay?
Mm-hmm.
There's not.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I see that. Oh, I need some me time. That when you have children and when you're married, that's out. It's no longer about you. It's about them.
Kind of like when you become a superstar, it's the same way.
Is you have to manage your energy and know, all right, when there's times to pull back,
Mm-hmm.
reflect, rejuvenate, get away for a minute, you know, take that time, and then get back in it.
Yeah. Nope,
Okay?
I agree.
My kids will be the first to tell you, you know, Dad looks like he's 100 miles an hour all the time. Well, he is a lot of the day, but there's also time when he's pulled back, when he's reserved, when he's sitting in a room for 5 or 10 minutes with nothing on, you know, sitting in a chair that used to, you know, vibrate really well, a massage chair, you know, whatever. But the point is just trying to get that back in to be able to go again, right? We all have to do that.
Brian made a great comment here. He said, I tell my Ducks that I can't coach them to play in the NFL, but I can teach them how to get to the next level and the next day.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all
growth
about.
and development. No, Brian's right.
It's what it's all about. It's trying to make them better
Every day.
at what they do. And you've got every skill level.
Yes.
And it's not just at that level. I saw it when I coached high school. You had kids that came in with no foundation, so you had to drop back.
And that's okay.
And start over.
Because it's about who we're serving. You know, I hear
Right.
people all the time, Lane, talking about, oh, follow your heart, follow your dreams and everything. No, that's not right. You follow Christ. You follow the Lord. And it's not about your passion. It's about your purpose.
Yeah,
and what allowed
right.
me to do and understand later in life, but as I made all the mistakes that one could make, is you know what? I need to follow my purpose. And I found my purpose, which is to help other people. My passion is to coach and to help kids and, you know, do that. So I'm allowed through my purpose to fulfill my individualized passion in what I enjoy to do, right? So, you know, I think that, you know, if we could all kind of just take a step back and get away from the emotional side of things and talk about, oh, my heart and following my dreams and the world is your oyster, all you got to do is this. That is not true. Ask the kids that went to school and got all these degrees and then 2008 hit. They were told, as you know, because you were in the school system, every kid needs to go to college. All you got to do is get a degree and the world will be your oyster. It'll be great. Well, 2008-9 hits. All these kids got all these advanced degrees are graduating. They're sitting at home. They're like, well, I'm not going to deliver pizzas. I went out and got my degree. I'm not doing that.
I got 2 pieces of paper that hang on the wall at the house. I don't use them, but
it's not their. When I say it's not their fault, they're responsible for themselves. But when you are indoctrinated and told things that are not true, that are narrative-based with no truth behind it, this is why these people were so confused and why people were criticizing them. You're still living at home. You're a mooch. You do this. You do that. No. They were given a narrative and told that if you do this, then this is what's going to happen. The problem is nobody has control of what's going to happen except you. Okay? And then when you do these things they tell you to do, and then you go out and fulfill or try to, and there's nothing available, you have to step back, reevaluate, do whatever you got to do to, you know, when things do improve. Many of them were not willing to do that.
My 2 youngest were told as they got older, you don't have to leave the house. You can stay right here till you get everything set up, get your education, get your job under you. 2 requirements at my house. You get up and go to work every day like I do, and you pay your own bills. You don't have to pay for living here because I have to live here anyway. So that's the way that I've got to work.
Right.
One of my older ones said, hey, does that apply for any of us? Can we come back too? Absolutely. I don't care. That's my requirements.
Absolutely.
If that's what you need to do, that's what you need to do. Now, the other thing that I will say, Richie said, I see parents take a personal vacation from their family. Dad goes on a weekend beach trip. Mom goes to the mountains for the weekend. I've always found that weird and selfish. I still take some personal time, okay? But I just came off a vacation, and my youngest kid's 20, and that vacation was open to any of them at any age because I want to do the vacation thing as family.
No,
I think
know
those
what
are great.
Richie's saying.
Yeah.
You know, I look on Facebook, you know, you see your friends and everything, and, you know, it's a girls' weekend in Miami.
And I'm okay as long as you did the family time as well.
At Vegas, you know,
Not in place.
You know, to each his own. You know, whatever. Not hey, look, whatever.
It's in addition to.
Right. You know, the thing about it is, you know, there's a difference between, you know, well, anyway, I think everybody knows where that goes.
Let me give you this, and we'll go. I got a young man that I have done some shirts for. He coaches. He has retired twice from coaching. He's been from teaching and coaching. He's been in it 37 or 38 years.
Good Lord.
He was a teammate of Juju's and Bruce Eichert, Lenore Ryan. I hooked up with him through Bruce when he was at Polk County. He has since left Polk County because he always wanted to coach girls basketball and got an opportunity to go to Orange High School, down near Chapel Hill. And I made him shirts. And the reason I tell this is because he puts the school logo on the back like a locker tag. And the front is very simple, just what you said. The front says, live in purpose, so that every day that's what you do. That's it for us. Have a great day. Stay dry, guys. See ya.